All right, guys, welcome. Welcome to a special edition of Submission Radio Morning After. My camera wouldn't work. I apologize, but here we are. We're here now. 4th of July just going down for all my friends in America. And I just want to introduce my guests here because these guys are worthy. Oh, by the way, all my notes are gone. Okay. Fun. All these guys are worthy as I'm getting all my notes up of carrying the big show today. But will they be accredited? Will they be allowed? Will security let them in to the White House if these fights do happen on the lawn? I want to bring in my first guest who I have questions about. You know him from his work on MMA Fighting. He is a beacon of light when it comes to hot takes and telling us what's what. The one and only Jed Meshew. Not hungover? Not hungover?
A little bit. No, a little bit hungover. It was 4th of July, man. We went to the lake. But I was a little more responsible this time than last time, so I'm feeling great compared to the last time I was on this fight program.
Last time you were on this fight program, I was gonna order like an IV to come down to your house just through the show.
I honestly could have used it.
This next guest right here, I've got him on the screen by accident early. He is, of course, coming off a crazy road trip in Las Vegas with Uncrowned and Ariel Helwani, his own show as well. Absolutely killed it down there. Couldn't believe the set design, all the guests, the shows. It was absolutely amazing. Now he's back after. Man, you must be exhausted. New York Rick, how you feeling, man? What a crazy week you guys had.
Yeah, it was a mad dash, but I appreciate coming on here. It's a nice little relaxing way to close it out. And apologies for all the times that you messaged me and I couldn't do it. I felt like a complete piece of garbage, but I'm happy to be on now.
That's all good, man. That's all good. It's all about the guilt, you know. That's how I get people on this show. And I appreciate all you guys.
Tactic.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I'm happy to be reunited with my boy Jed, and I'm happy about that as well.
This is special, right? This is special. I was gonna say, what a combination. When I was looking at the list, I'm like, Jed, New York Rick, back together after a huge 4th of July weekend. Jed, how's it feel to be on the program with New York Rick right now?
It just warms the heart, you know. I haven't seen Ricky in a while. I've talked to him a couple of times, but you know, it's always just good to share space with him. He's such a generous man. He's so giving. And even he finally came around on the Jon Jones nonsense. And that really felt like we could build a firm bridge when Rick was like, you know what? I love Jon. Still think he's the GOAT. This has got to end. And that's when I was like, yep, we're here. We're together forever. That's us.
Oh, baby. All right.
I feel the same.
I have here, my stupid thing says my audio is using the wrong microphone. You guys can hear me okay as I try to game plan through how the hell to fix this?
I can hear you. Yeah. Your audio does sound echoey, but I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, guys. So as I try to fix this issue, I want you guys to tell me your reaction, right? The White House is going to hold some fights, some UFC fights. We saw Donald Trump actually talk about this very, very recently last week. New York Rick, we've seen the fights at Madison Square Garden. We've seen them all over the world. What was his reaction when you thought, all right, we might have to get the team accredited for the White House next year?
I like the idea. We've seen boxing at the White House before, and I like the idea of kind of bringing back that a little bit old school. Another furthering of the Donald Trump, UFC, Dana White political machine and power. But I dig it as a spectacle. I think it'll get a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs. It'll benefit probably the White House because they seem, at least Donald Trump seems to want to kind of court the fandom of the UFC. And from the UFC perspective, obviously you could do worse than being a promotion that hosts an event on the White House lawn, but not so fast because I don't know if you guys saw, but Don Davis, the head of the PFL, tweeted earlier that he's got a fantastic card headlined by Francis Ngannou that he's proposing for the White House. PFL goes first, then UFC goes later in the night. And I have to say that's an inspired move by Don Davis. I would love to see that as well.
Jed, we've got people talking. Well, Don Davis, what do you think, Jed? Making some moves here.
He's just he can't tweet, man. I've been saying it forever. I understand Don's role for the PFL, right? Like he's the money guy. Not that he has the money, but he's the guy who talks to the money. He is the guy who pitches investors, and he's that. Like that's who he is to a T. That's to his soul. Even the stuff that he's always like trying to propagate out largely is just like stuff that fans wouldn't care about. You know, these are the bullet points you put on a deck when you're pitching new investors, you know, at a conference or something. And so then when he does some shit like this, it's just like the most cringeworthy shit in the world. And just going to get you dunked on. Like there's no upside to doing this. Clearly just trying to like grab some shine however he can. Total misstep, but that's the PFL story. They take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back semi-religiously, it seems. And so Don, get off Twitter, man. It's not for you. Do your LinkedIn posts, buddy. Like that's where you need to be doing your posting, on LinkedIn.
Man, I'll tell you, it's crazy times right now, right? Because we've got so much happening. And as soon as this White House stuff came out, we saw an old friend decide to use Twitter. We saw an old friend decide to talk about a potential return. We saw this. Wrong one.
Nice.
We saw this MMA fighting graphic. Fighting at the White House?
Yeah.
Now, I'll go to you second, Jed, because I want you to compose yourself before you react to this news. But New York Rick, we just got through the saga. We just got through the breakup. Feels like we're taking our boxes out of the house. We're trying to move on with our lives here. How does it feel like Jon Jones? Why does it feel like Jon Jones is trying to make his way back into our lives just as we feel like we've moved on and we've begun moving on with the sport?
Because this is what Jon Jones does, because Jon Jones is a troll at this point, and that's basically all he is. And I don't think it's in his hands anymore, probably, unless by special request Jon Jones was on that card. I think that this latest round of shenanigans probably put him in bad standing with the UFC. They've been trying to make the Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight, and Tom was ready to go, and Jon was not, even at the point where they had met the number that he demanded. So we've seen people in this position before, and the UFC doesn't typically take kindly to this. One, Francis Ngannou is somebody who they tried to offer some money to, and he rebuked them, and he seems in the doghouse as well. So I don't imagine that Jon Jones can just like pop in and out in this way. I imagine that he's probably on ice for a little bit. But having said that, you could do worse than a Jon Jones card if you were to do one at the White House. He is one of the biggest American stars, if not the biggest. And so it would make sense, but I don't imagine that the UFC is going to count on Jon Jones. And they have been in this position before, and they have said, we will never count on Jon Jones before, and then they continue to kind of get bitten by that snake. So we'll see what happens this time. I don't imagine that this will be Jon Jones' return to the UFC.
We got people in the comments saying, can we stop giving this man attention? Can we stop talking about him? But Jed, this man is already back in the headlines. He's already back in the talks. He's already working his way back in. Funnily enough, Tom Aspinall has his next fight locked in, so he's out of that whole scenario. Is the timing just perfect for Jon Jones to start dropping these tweets yet again?
This was always going to happen. And we're already forgetting. Before the White House thing happened, Jon is out here tweeting, not getting in the testing pool or whatever. Like he's not fighting Tom Aspinall. That's what he's not doing. As long as Tom has the belt, he's not fighting Tom. Tom loses the belt, Jon was always going to tweet something and then be like, ooh, maybe I'm interested in a comeback. And he still is going to play that game, because the moment he retired, almost like maybe it was 4 or 5 days, but then we moved on to 317. It was like, cool, Jon, like it was overwhelming relief. Great, Jon's done. This whole farce is over. And cool, go on, do your life. We can forget about you. We don't need you in our lives, Jon. Like we are happier without you, frankly. And of course he wasn't going to handle that well. Like for as much as he wants to blather on and say, I'm out here living my best life, he's not, because he is on those internet streets every single day, tweeting and reacting. And a man who truly doesn't care is not subtweeting when Habib gets to be the pound for pound number one of like, I've never lost in my career. Like this is a man who cares deeply what people think. He doesn't care about being stripped of the belt, but he does care that people talk about him, and he is the loudest kid in the room, and he must have the attention. And so he's going to do this forever. But as long as Tom has the belt, he's not fighting him, because if he was gonna, he would have. If he was gonna, he would have. Based on all the reporting, they met his number and he was like, nah. And so Jon even like sort of tacitly explained some of this at points and was like, yeah, man, this is not the same thing for me. He knows that he's not the same fighter he was 5 years ago. There's no shame in that. He's almost 40. Like, this is a young man's game, and he was at the top for longer than almost anybody, if not just anybody. But that fight doesn't get better for him next year. It gets worse. If he was going to fight Tom, he should have done it already. And so now he's suddenly going to fight Tom. No, as long as Tom has the belt, he's sitting his ass on the sidelines. And I think Tom's having the belt for a while. Would it be like, I think the whole White House thing is kind of stupid, but it would obviously really very real chance it happens, and would obviously be this big, enormous thing if it does. If in this fantasy camp we're living in, you got Jon versus Tom on the White House lawn on July 4th, and Jon Jones beats England, like, that would be this epic story, but that's a fiction. You're lying to yourselves. Don't listen to it. Move on with your life and focus on things that are real. Your family, the sun outside, happiness, not this fantasy that he is trying to sell you, so you will keep talking about him because it's all he wants.
But what if they set up the U.S. guys in squash matches? What if it wasn't Tom? What if they were just like beating Jon, the 17th ranked heavyweight?
That would be something that I would be totally fine with. I do not think anyone else would be fine with.
Well, is that like New York Rick? Let's talk that through for a second. Who realistically, first of all, do you believe Jon Jones actually returns? And if he does, who would he be fighting?
I don't believe he returns, because I think the only fight out there is Tom, and I don't think the UFC would be interested in kind of doing that unless it was for something like this, right? This kind of opens a door, because I was half joking about like the 17th ranked heavyweight, but you probably don't want to book the main event with an American losing. You probably want to put them in there with somebody that they can steamroll and you can fly the flag and, play the music. But I don't think Jon comes back, because I don't think that there's any interesting fights out there for him other than Tom, and I don't think the UFC is going to dilute the product in that way to put him in there against somebody else. But I don't think it really matters. Like, even if he does come back, the reality is still that Tom Aspinall was the one that retired Jon Jones ultimately. Like, if he comes back against anybody else, it doesn't quiet anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change his legacy. It adds nothing. The only fight that would have done something right now for him, like, there's probably three, and two are head and shoulders above the rest. There's Tom Aspinall, which I think would have done the most. Francis Ngannou would probably still have something that it would do for his legacy.
Well, that would do a lot for him.
And the lowest version, and I think in a category way below the other two, is probably Alex Pereira, just because you get that name on your resume. But that's about it. And I really don't think that any of those are realistic at this moment. Francis might be more realistic than Tom, because I think Jon probably thinks he can beat him, and I don't know if he thinks he can beat Tom. But coming back for anything other than those fights doesn't really make sense. So I don't expect we'll see Jon.
Dude, if they did Alex, that would be cool. If they did Alex at the White House lawn, Jon versus Alex at 205, and Jon was like, I'm not a heavyweight. I know you guys wanted this 205 or Legends. Like, the problem is he would have to say, I don't want to fight Tom Aspinall. He'd have to say those words and acknowledge that, not that he's scared, but that people would view him as being scared of fighting Tom Aspinall. And he'll never do that. And so it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, but by the way, microphone all fixed. Super chats get to the front of the queue. We're doing a Brad Pitt top 3 later. I forgot to mention it from the top. Best movies, worst movie. Got a couple of super chats here I want to quickly bring up. Chuck Randy, Rashad Rampage, Khabib Conor, they pale in comparison to the rivalry that is New York Rick and Jed Meshew. And people are honored to see you guys on here today. And a shout out to Lazy Bed, new member. But Jed, Jon Jones, right? He's strategically just placing himself in exactly the position that New York Rick just said. Let's say Alex Pereira wins or loses. Let's say there's a small chance that Cyril Gane somehow picks up a win over Tom Aspinall. Do you just see him strategically being like, in the case that someone does play out in this capacity, I'm ready to put myself back in there? Like, he waited for Tom Aspinall to lock in his next fight. He got out of that whole conversation. And now he's back in the conversation, waiting to see if there's an opportunity to get back in. Strategically, he's doing all the right stuff. If you look at it from his perspective, right?
Yeah, there's no barrier, like there's no cost to this. This is free for him to just be like, all right, well, I'll tweet because he's online. The man is chronically online anyway, so he can just fire out a tweet or two and be like, "Ooh, I'm interested." And then the people who stand him until the dying breath will be like, "Oh, maybe he's going to come back, Jon at the White House." And then everybody else will be like, "Cool, we continue this news cycle. It'll happen." And Conor's been tweeting he's fighting for 5 years. I ain't seen hide nor hair of that motherfucker. Like, it's the same shit. Why not? There's no downside to doing it. Because like what is the risk here? And so maybe things break. I don't think Cyril Gane beating Tom helps him, because why would Jon return to fight Cyril, and why would the UFC even let him? He would obviously kill Cyril.
Easy fight, man. He beat him easily. Fight again for the belt.
Yeah, but why does he need to at that point? That does nothing for him. And like Tom, he said Tom didn't do anything for him.
Belt. He wants
forget that it does. Forget that it does nothing for Jon, which it
does nothing for the UFC.
If the UFC puts Jon back in the title shot, now what? Now you've got him ducking the next guy. Like, it just doesn't work anymore. We're doing the same thing. The only interesting fight is Francis or Alex, and I don't think he would fight Tom. And so I'd take a Francis or Alex fight if he come back for one of those.
Yeah. Legacy-wise, though, Rick, how much is this him coming back into Twitter? Like, I feel like people are so over him at this point. They saw the tweet, they're like, we don't even care anymore. Like, legacy-wise, where's this sit with people? I feel like they're already over Jon Jones. This is just like that nail in the coffin of like, this guy's got to be kidding me. We're like completely tuning out of anything he says.
They're over Jon Jones as a fighter because he has, in this latest instance, shown that he doesn't want to fight, right? That they're over. But as a personality, I still think Jon Jones has something, and there's still going to be people. It will always grab attention. Him tweeting this White House thing. Every MMA media website picked up on it. The fans are engaging with it. As Jed alluded to earlier, Conor McGregor throws bait out there all the time, and people still respond to it. Jon and Conor and the fighters of that ilk are always going to be able to kind of drum up the attention. But the translation to action, the thing that actually gets people excited to see them in the octagon or see them fighting, that's the part that I think has really drastically diminished for Jon and Conor as well. So I don't think people take him seriously in that regard. They don't think he's going to come back and fight, especially because Tom Aspinall is still the champion at the moment. And that's the part that matters. But as far as just like getting attention online, he will continue to get that until his dying day, I'm sure.
It's going to be 50 talking about a comeback, Jed.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It is, and I've been really strongly on the Conor McGregor's not fighting in corner. It's way more likely that Conor headlines the White House event than it is that Jon does. I could absolutely see Conor, because Conor cares about that part. Like, Conor doesn't give a shit about his legacy. Jon does. Conor cares about being in big events, and that would undeniably be this big, spectacular event. And so, like, this is the most likely I've ever thought for Conor to be returning at this moment in time, because that is 1,000% a thing he tried to do. He's never going to do that. That's just not. Ireland hates him. He's never going to do that. But like, if like that absolutely is a thing that he would be interested in, and so like that should be where the people's, the casual fan interest is we might get Conor versus, I guess, Michael Chandler. That seems really, really on brand for this particular event.
New York Rick, have a look at this.
Yeah.
Both men on the lawn. We see Donald Trump in the back doing something with his hand. The only place where disputes truly get settled, the White House. Jed just mentioned it. What do you feel? How do you feel about the Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler fight happening at the White House?
I don't love the idea just from the booking, right? Like, there's high potential there that the Irishman just lances the U.S. guy, and then we're looking at, a debacle on the White House lawn. I think you kind of have to like stack the deck a little bit more for the Americans. You put Conor in another fight against another international guy. He by then will be the president of Ireland, and then maybe you put him in there with another diplomat or another president, another prime minister, somebody notable. Let him whoop on them, and then you keep the Americans against other people that they can beat.
Would there be something funny, Jed, about Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz at the White House, like with both of the histories, both men?
Jesus
Nate
Christ,
Diaz, and then you got them in the White House. Just like, wouldn't that just be the ultimate like cherry on top of the cake for you?
It'd be the ultimate MMA, just like what fucking world do we live in? This is ludicrous. But no, man, like that. Some Bet Online dropped odds for like who is most likely to main event, and those odds were all dumb. I mean, one, don't bet on this. That's just incredibly stupid to bet on something like this. Two, all the odds were like outrageous. It was Dustin was the top guy at plus 250. Like Dustin's not fighting in the White House event next year. Come on. Max was next. It's like, are you guys sure you're not talking about who's main eventing UFC 318 next week? And so like if I was setting odds, I honestly think that there's a 40% chance it's Conor versus Chandler. Like that just that feels like the right kind of stupid for what this whole thing will be.
Just wanted to quickly shout out some of the members in the chat. Andrew Nats. We've obviously got Lazy Bed, some of the boys in here as well. And if you guys want to send through Andrew Nats, yep, I see you, man. If you guys have any questions, throw them in. There's a super chat. Brad Pitt, top 3 coming up. If you want to support the show, join as a member. New York Rick, let's talk a little bit about fantasy White House card just for a second, right? I want to start with you. If it was up to you, you could create any main event from the current roster right now. What would be your main and co-main for a White House card?
Am I a fan or am I the UFC? Who am I in this scenario?
I feel like you're the fan, right? Like I want to hear like a fan friendly one.
Yeah, Conor McGregor on the White House lawn would be a fucking spectacle. So you do Conor, Mike, just do that.
Right. Main or co-main?
Main. What? Who's above Conor? Who's headlining above?
Is that still a main event fight?
Oh, stop that! Oh, stop, bro!
On.
Stop that!
Come on, guys!
Come on! Don't be ridiculous.
President by
Don't be ridiculous.
Are you out of your mind? All right, Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler.
Hitting pads. All right, okay, Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. Then I think you got to do what the boxing cards do. You got to try and like put somebody big over, right? You got to put them in that spot so that you go, who's somebody we can build off? Maybe you make that like a Tom Aspinall title defense. I mean, you could do Ilia, but I feel like you save him, right? You don't really want to blow 2 of your biggest stars in that environment. You can bank so much on a Conor fight, and then you can bank so much on an Ilia fight probably at this point in time, and Tom feels like a level below some of that. So maybe you do Tom versus, I don't know, Jalton Almeida, somebody, I don't know. Do something like that so that you can really give Tom the rub. You put him over big, although I wonder if Conor is like, I don't want Tom on my card. I don't know. That's how I'd do it. If I was a fan, I'd want to. Oh no, actually, wait. I was a fan. All right, so I'm not booking it that way. All right, give me new champion Khamzat Chimaev versus Alex Pereira on that one.
Ooh. Hey, that's a fight no one's really spoken about. Now, I don't know if he can get into the country usually, and then getting into the White House on top of that, he's here. That's pretty impressive. I know he's here now, but he's had issues in the past. So him getting into the White House, that's like full circle. But wouldn't you do Ilia Topuria versus Conor McGregor then if we're doing that?
No, I don't care at all about that fight.
What do you mean? 2 legacies, featherweight, knockout artists.
Buddy, I'm not trying to
Chandler McGregor though. No,
you said as a fan, I don't give a fuck about big as a fan. If I'm the UFC, probably as a fan, I don't want to watch a sanctioned murder. That doesn't have any appeal to me.
Chandler McGregor,
we got rid of fucking public executions in this country a long time ago. I don't know what goddamn Australia. You go to hangings every week. Is that what you're doing over there in that lawless island you live on? Why the fuck would I want to watch Ilia kill Conor?
No hangings. We're all hung like a horse, but there's no hangings here. Talk to me about your main or co-main, Jed.
I mean, my main is going to be Conor Chandler because that's the biggest thing. Even if I don't like the fight is a little meaningless, that is the thing that makes the whole event level up, even beyond it's on the White House lawn or whatever. You have to do it. And then because I'm already living in the stupid world, let's go all in on the stupid world, boys. I'm going to give us the fight we've wanted, the fight that the fans wanted, that everybody was talking about for many, that there were shirts made for it. Co-main, Elon versus Zuck, baby. Let's go.
Oh, inspired.
Yes.
Inspired.
Yes.
That's the most White House card you could ever have.
That's tag team.
Is Elon allowed back? Is Elon even allowed back on the grounds at this point?
I look, he can just tweet an apology and it'll be fine.
Do we not want to do like Islam Ilia, or is that not American enough? Because that's to be American, right?
why waste it there, right? Like, I feel like you have to
Yeah.
do stuff that's a little bit absurd, a little bit outrageous. Conor versus Chandler feels like the perfect one, right? It's like that'll sell a lot of pay-per-views, but it might be better used as this like buoy for this incredibly massive event. You put Conor McGregor there and you don't worry about it.
Mm.
Um
What about Sean
also,
Strickland? Why are we going to put Sean
he's
Strickland
lower
in
on the
there?
card. He's lower
Yeah.
somewhere. He's on
He's going to
there
be on
though.
the card, Jed. Sean Strickland,
Oh,
surely.
absolutely. Like there's just no doubt about that. But he's not a co-main eventer. If you know, in the context of Zuck versus Musk, this guy's maybe the feature fighter, maybe the main card opener. You know, I don't know who you get him against, but doesn't matter. Put Sean Strickland in there. Sean
Colby
versus
Covington
Colby.
in
Yeah,
there.
I'd say
Yep.
Sean versus Colby. Let's do that.
That's a good one. I
No,
feel like
but America versus America. Let's let the Americans have one side of the bracket if we do this.
I want.
Anything's fine at this point. Who cares? It's all lunacy.
I just want to get a taste of this because New York Rick alluded to it earlier. If you're the UFC, like, what are you booking? It's not going to be fan friendly, right? Is it going to be like? And there's nothing wrong with these fights, but it'd be like Kayla. I love Kayla Harrison. Would it be like Kayla Harrison on the Olympic gold medalist?
Who after the Nunes fight? What are we even doing in that weight class? So no.
But by the way, we also can't discount the fact that the president probably picks this, right? He probably goes, "Here's who I want on this," and that's how it kind of goes. I'd have to imagine.
I'd certainly say he's involved to
He's
some
at least
extent.
involved in this decision making. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see like the the Colbys, the Stricklands, and whoever else is kind of like curried favor at this point.
Mm. I mean, we were talking about Don Davis. We've got Lazy Bet saying PFL White House, the real money maker. I don't know.
I mean, Don tweeted out a hell of a card. Let's do it.
JBR,
That card is good.
LSU,
Just
let's
make that
go.
card,
Just
Don.
radio.
Like I don't fucking get you, Don. That was the worst part of the whole thing. It's like, dude, people have been shitting on your product all year. You apparently at least know how to make a card. You fantasy booked your own goddamn promotion. Why can't you just real book your own goddamn promotion?
The South Africa card looks okay, but I'll tell you, man, too many cards, hard to follow. I like Dan Hardy, though. He's doing a good job with this. But I got to say, man, White House, UFC. Do you feel like, Jed, they should have gotten Donald Trump in the room with Jon Jones to get this Aspinall thing over the line?
No, it never would happen. He was never going to fight Tom. I said it for 2 years. He wasn't going to do it. And I don't blame him for not doing it. I do blame him for like putting on the song and dance and acting like he was going to do it, but he was never going to do it. It didn't. God himself couldn't have made John do that. The same way God hasn't stopped him from drunk driving. So
I think if you're calling anybody, it's probably Turkey Al Sheikh instead of Donald Trump. I think
yeah,
you added a few extra zeros to that paycheck and see what happens. But I don't think it was Donald Trump that was going to get that one done.
Mm. Randy Couture versus Brock Lesnar. That could have been a good White House fight. Let's talk about other divisions that are cooking right now, and that is the lightweight division. I got to find out from you fellas, what have you made of this Arman Sarukian media tour? Rick, he popped by Uncrowned. He did a good interview with Ariel Helwani. He's been on Twitter. He's been out there. He's been doing his thing. Latest tweet is some of the fun facts that he's got. And this latest one kind of took my notice. Fun fact of the day, Ilia Topuria never fought anybody in their prime. Now, Jed, I just got off an interview a couple of days ago with Paddy Pimblett's coach who said the same thing to me. Kind of surprised me, but got me thinking. Seems like this is a notion across a number of people throughout the lightweight division. Does Arman have any facts here? Does he actually have a point? Is Ilya's run not as impressive because maybe some of the guys that he's beaten, while they're huge names, were potentially towards the end of their runs?
There's a kernel of truth here, but there's not like a lot of truth here, if that makes sense. I think that if you are not willing to acknowledge that his last 3 wins have all come against fighters who were very, very likely not at the peak of their powers, then you're just being dishonest for one reason or another. Like, that's not to say that Volk was washed. He obviously isn't. We saw what happened with Diego Lopez. But is the Volk that fought Ilia Topuria the same Volk that just kicked the shit out of Max Holloway in their 3rd fight? No. He's coming off 2 losses in 3 fights. He had just been knocked out. He looks skittish. He's older. Like, he wasn't all the way at the same. Now, would the best Volk still lost? I think so. I think he still would have beat the best Volk. But like we can just acknowledge that he was not like peak Volk. I think the same can be said with Max. Again, Max still an unbelievable fighter. He whipped the shit out of Justin Gaethje, who's a top 7 lightweight or whatever. But like, is that the Max who put the boots to Jose Aldo? I don't think so. Now, would that have changed? Probably not. Still think Topuria beats Prime Max. But and then Charles, everyone should be free to acknowledge that while Charles is still an elite lightweight, that is not the best Charles that has ever been. These don't diminish the wins, but it is like that is not an unfair statement. It's unfair and like I don't know. Ryan Hall was at his peak when Ilia killed him, and Bryce Mitchell was probably near the peak of his powers when Ilia beat him. But like this current run, there is a little bit of truth. Really doesn't make this run any less goddamn impressive because it's still one of the best runs we've ever seen in the sport.
I think it's the way it happened, right, Rick? Like, it wasn't just the fact that these guys were maybe a little bit over it, but it's the fact that he was able to finish him the way that he did that stands out to us.
Yeah, certainly the finishes I think point to this, but and I'm actually lobbing this out there. This is not rhetorical. Isn't this the sport of MMA? Aren't the biggest fights? Don't you get to the championship level when those guys are on the back nine as opposed to in their primes? Isn't that when they make the most money? It's how long you can kind of push that in the way that Volk kind of has and now like regained it, but you're typically not in your prime by the time you get to the riches and the spoils that are here when you get to the championship. This is kind of how MMA is built. You earn the most and you are the most relevant when you're at the top of that back nine and heading down. And so it's just how long you can kind of hold that bull by its horns. So I don't think that this is like an Ilia Topuria thing. This is just MMA. I don't see this specific to Ilia. I also rate the guys that he's beaten quite highly even now in this current environment. And then the other thing I'd say, we're hearing from Armin and we're hearing from Paddy Pimblett. Their best wins are against guys that are not like the peak of their powers either. So like if you're shitting on a Charles win, your best win is Charles. Armin Sarukian. What are we even at this point talking about? Like what is the thing that you can hold against Ilia Topuria that you have over him? You didn't get in there with Islam. If you got in there with Islam, this version of Islam,
he lost.
Islam was not at the peak of his powers at that time. I'd argue he's closer to the peak now. If you got in with that version of Islam, I think there's a case to be made that you're facing stiffer competition. But like your best win is Charles, who is the guy that he just beat. Paddy Pimblett, like his best win is Michael Chandler, who of anybody that we're talking about is probably the most shop worn, beaten by that version of Charles Oliveira that everybody's calling into question. So I just don't understand the motivation. I don't get this like idea that we're looking at Ilia Topuria's resume and trying to pick it apart. Like this is the resumes and how they work in MMA.
It is funny though, because it's like you just fought Charles, and even though you won, people feel like Charles had a bit of momentum in that fight. And this is a guy that just literally put Charles out, like lights out in the middle of the octagon, and you're questioning his run. I got to find out from you guys. For me, one of the best runs in MMA had to be Jon Jones. I don't know if you guys agree. We'll talk about it in a second. But even looking at Jon Jones's resume right here.
Be careful, Dennis. The internet will tell you that this is a dog shit run and everybody he beat was a bum and all he did was beat up middleweights. So careful. Just
what is the run? But even looking at this run, though, all of these guys that he beat before he beat them, we're like, well, will he be able to beat these guys? Like Rashad was probably still in his prime, but like a lot of these guys that he beat, and I mean, Gustafsson always beat him, but he was kind of in his prime there too. But like from your Jacksons to your Machitas to your Shoguns, Vitor Belfort, who got that armbar on him, Chael Sonnen, who popped out his toe with his mind telekinesis. But all of these guys, you could argue, were probably at the end of their run there as well. And it's one of the situations, you don't know when someone's at the end of their run until after the fight when you see them. But like, Jed, is there any argument here? Is this not the greatest 3-stretch win streak in MMA history? Is there somebody else that should be in there that we're forgetting?
You're talking about Ilia's, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's up there. I do not know if it's the best. Like one,
because I was looking at Conor McGregor, but he's got those Nate Diaz fights in between. So that's sad. Otherwise, he'd be in there, right?
If Conor didn't have the Nate, they'd be really good. There are other good ones. Like it's gonna be to taste. It's gonna be a thing that would just be like what you think. I think that if you're like this isn't even the conversation, you're obviously lying. It's absolutely one of the best 3-fight runs. The Jon run you pulled up. I will, as Rick pointed out, I'll nitpick a lot of that. There were 9 fighters on the screen, 5 of them fought a middleweight, but even considering that, there's still an incredible run of shit there. Obviously the Shogun 05 run, like through the tournament, was sick. Like there are sort of legendarily great runs.
Probably
and this is one of them. Like the max run of Aldo and Frankie. Like that's a fucking incredible run. Even if it's Aldo twice, like that's a really, really good run. This is, I'm always hesitant to just be like, this is the best one we've ever seen, because I've been in the sport a long time at this point, and everybody loves the new thing that happened recently because half the fans picked up the sport during COVID, and people just like to be excited about what's current. But this is absolutely up there.
I was thinking about Anderson Silva, but he had a few funny opponents. Alex Volkanovski, New York, Rick. He had a good run as well, beat a bunch of legends in that division before he eventually lost. And then obviously he fought Islam as well.
As Jed said, these are all to your taste, right? Like it depends on where you fall on what Jon Jones. A lot of this is just like, how did it feel in the moment? That's really what this comes down to. Like, how did they make you feel in that moment? How game did you feel those opponents were potentially going to be? I am not somebody who subscribes to the idea that like these guys that Jon was fighting were just a bunch of like washed middleweights. Like it just did not feel that way at the moment. Especially in the way that he dispatched with them, and the fact that he stepped into the Shogun fight as the youngest champion and won it as the youngest champion ever. Like it requires some respect on that. But if you look at the names, like these are three names that are unassailable that Ilia just knocked out. You can't do much better than this, and the way that he did it, it's up there with any of them.
What about Jed?
I will say this about this run. It's the best narrative, I think. I feel pretty confident saying that, because like the Volk one was, is this too soon for Ilia? Some people, including people on this very program, were like, Ilia should fight Max before he fights Volk. Not saying who. That dude right there.
I know this dude.
Trust
me, I know this dude. Trust me, him and his Volk.
And so it was like, is this too soon? Yes, Volk's coming off the loss, but Volk was, arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Topuria, it was legitimately a pretty big step up in competition, and then he goes and he kills Volk. That's the narrative of that is sensational. Then Max is coming off 300 and just one of the all-time great moments in the history of the sport. Max is beloved. Max has never been knocked out. It's, hey, I know Topuria is good. You can't kill Max. And then he kills him. The narrative there is unbelievable. And then now I'm going to go up and win a second belt. I won't dive into my, position on winning belts in multiple weight classes. Most people just wet themselves over that. And so even though he was a minus 500 favorite, this is still getting a second belt up a weight class against a beloved all-time great fighter, and he kills him in 3 minutes. No fighter has had a narrative progression that is that sensational in the history of the sport. I think I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think it's like one of the most ferocious ones, right? Go on, Rick.
The only one is the Jon Jones when you couch it with the idea of how young he was, right? Ilia Topuria
but people don't jizz themselves over him defending the belt 3 times. If his third one had been getting the heavyweight belt, people were shitting themselves about it because it is what the sport knows now.
I think that it's interesting, like Lyoto Machida, the way that he beat Machida when he let him go, and Machida was just kind of like limp and fell. That was like an Ilia Topuria-esque win. But then when you go through some of his other wins, like Vitor Belfort, that was a good win. He was in a little bit of trouble there. Gustafsson, that was a close fight. Obviously, the DC fight, like he had a lot of really good battles with really good fighters, but it wasn't like Charles Oliveira laying there looking up at the lights, and you're like, dude,
come on. Now we're reducing DC to like, he had the DC win. This dude was a fucking pound for pound legend. Like DC could have been champion in any other era, probably pretty easily. Was when Jon Jones wasn't around, and then becomes heavyweight champion.
The first
DC wins are great.
The first one. No, the first
I don't
one.
I don't care about steroids. The 2 DC wins.
What?
Are very, very good wins.
Yeah, okay. I don't care about steroids either, and those are fucking nasty shit right there.
You know what I wanted? You know what I would love to see at the White House if DC was a little bit younger and better shape. I'd love to see the heavyweight DC Jon Jones fight, because I was always wanting to see what would that look like. without DC cutting down to 205.
I'd watch it.
That was a different fight.
Just DC quickly. DC Brock, if we're doing
DC Brock.
They have to be you guys are trying to put fights that are like no, these have to all be cartoons because this event is a cartoon. This is Acme Looney Tunes nonsense shit. So let's lean in.
Dude,
I
DC's
like
getting
it.
into shape. I love the DC Brock fight. That would be so much fun. Just chuck it on there, man.
Is
Brock
Kane
would
going to
do
be
it.
out by then? Can we do Kane versus Brock rematch? Fuck it. Let's do
Kane should be out by then.
That
Let's
would be
do
good
it.
too. That would be good too. Hey, just quickly, while everybody's hating on me and Jon Jones had a good run. Don't go in the comments after this show and start writing me messages. I can't be bothered dealing with you guys. He had a good run. I'm just bringing up some points. I'm about to get some more hate because I'm bringing up GSP's record here. Obviously, this record of wins impressive. Dan Hardy had him in that armbar. Josh Koscheck, really difficult. Jake Shields, great champion. Carlos Condit, brutal. Nick Diaz. Johnny Hendricks, that was a really close fight. You could probably argue
Johnny won.
that you could argue that
Johnny
Johnny
won.
won, but yeah. And obviously, BJ Penn in there came back, beat Michael Bisping, though, the way that he beat him. What about that run? That's not a bad run, Jed.
I couldn't care less about the Bisping win. Great. It's the Bisping win is it's the same as the Gone win for John. It's a nice cherry on top that is if that cherry's not on the Sunday, no one gives a shit. The Sunday is exactly the same with or without it. So it was a nice little thing to do, but it is ultimately meaningless. We discussed this on the MMA Fighting Ranking show this week. I still favor there are 6 fighters that if you call them your GOAT, we don't have to have a discussion. If you pick one that's not in that 6, I think you're stupid.
Wait,
but
what are they? List them.
It's BJ.
It's no, it's not BJ. It's John,
DJ.
GSP, John. Oh, DJ, John, GSP, DJ, Anderson, Fedor, and Aldo. If any of those 6 are your GOATs, I got no problem. They've accomplished an infinite amount in the sport. However you want to do it. Inside of that list, mine changes basically with the wind, however I'm feeling that day. But the thing I come back to more often than not is if I could swap with anybody's career, I think GSP had the greatest career. I think that run of opposition is, you can nitpick the John career. And it's nitpicks. It is nitpicks, but you can, there's the steroids and GSP.
Sorry, is that not enough of an excuse for you, Jed?
I don't care about steroids at all. So no, it doesn't mean anything to me. But the George is just that run, he didn't lose a round for 7 years or something ungodly against a collection of some of the greatest fighters. The only reason that GSP doesn't have the same I killed 8 champions like John did, because he never let him have the fucking belt, because he just had that shit on lock. It was so that's shout out to GSP.
Habib doesn't crack that because of not enough longevity as title defenses.
Yeah, Habib and Islam are outside of that group looking in because they just don't have and BJ and Rick, we've talked about BJ forever. I love BJ. I don't love what's happening with BJ right now, obviously, but BJ's career is among the most meaningful careers to my personal fandom and life. And he is beloved because of what he did, but because of what he did not put together an unimpeachable sustained run. If he had stuck at lightweight, if the judges hadn't fucked him in the Cal Uno rematch and he just been cool, I'm going to hang around with lightweight and beat Dean Thomas and run it back with Jins and shit, he'd probably have 8 title defenses and be a GOAT. Instead, he did a lot of things that made everybody love him and don't age that well, which is something I'm genuinely concerned with Ilia Topuria, because this run's super cool, but he's already talking welterweight. And if he wins that, then that's the first time anyone's ever done it. And if not, and things go tits up, then he's Conor. And people are going, Conor is beloved. Conor is not an all-time great. And Ilia should be an all-time great. He has all the tools, but he has to do the part that is necessary.
Rick, before you go, why are we discounting the steroids? Is it because everyone was on TRT around the time? Why doesn't it count the fact that John was cheating that second DC fight?
He got in the cage and they had the fights. That's ultimately how I feel about it. I understand if somebody disqualifies him for that reason, but that I have to go with what's on the paper. I have to go with what happened and what played out. I also operate under the assumption that there's a lot of people on a lot of stuff and not getting caught, and so I'm just kind of like in that world. Now, that doesn't excuse somebody who does then get caught to be like, we shouldn't have any punishment or whatever. The system that was in place carried out the justice that they felt was fit, and I just have to kind of abide by that. So ultimately, he still has those wins on his record, and the loss is not related to anything of that nature.
We should just
and
let
to a
DC get
stupid
on the
elbow.
steroids. Let DC get on the steroids and then see what happens. I want to see you roided up DC,
Sure.
Jed. I want
I'm
to
in.
see what that looks
That would-
like.
That would be fine. My stance on steroids has been consistent for all of my sports fandom. If you're not on steroids, like if Usain Bolt didn't ever take drugs, we should have put him on drugs. I want to see how fast a human can run. Like it has never been made clear to me why we've determined some of these magic potions you take are bad, but others are just called medicine and they're fine. Who gives a shit? It is costly. It is invasive. Let them do it. And you all agree. I am happy to acknowledge that they cheated. And so, whatever the punishment for the cheating is, like, I'm not here to be like, but I just don't personally care. I watched him fight Daniel Cormier. And if I get into a street fight, I can't be like, hey, before we get into a street fight, what sort of gear are you taking? Because if so, then this doesn't count. If I needed to know who of those two men was going to save my life in a Game of Thrones, fight to the death, Jon is the one because he kicked his ass twice. That's all I need to know.
I feel like DC could just hold you, right? And no one would be able to get to you. By the way, Rick, people talking shit about your shirt. It's too wrinkled for some people in the chat.
Well, it's very light. It's like a thin material. And so, listen, I just got out of the pool. Don't hate on me.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a break, all right?
Here's one for you, fellas, before we move off this division. Obviously, Islam moving up, fighting JDM right now. Ilia Topuria with the number 1 pound-for-pound spot in the rankings. I don't know if he's on your rankings at number 1, but officially
No,
for
I've
the
got
UFC
Islam.
ones. Okay. Do you feel like, Rick, it should go back to Islam once if he does beat JDM and wins the title?
I've already still got Islam. I mean, if we're like, I don't think Ilia did anything. Islam has 2 wins over Volk, right? Now, so then Ilia has a win over Volk. Islam's got a win over Charles. Ilia has a win over Charles. You put the Max Holloway up against the other Islam wins. Like there's degrees there, but then he's already been defending the belt and been on this magical run. Like I've got I've got Islam until otherwise proven, and I don't think that just 1 win over Charles was enough to like change my mind much on anything. I also think of pound for pound not necessarily as just a pure resume conversation. It should have something to do with like moving up in weight. So while I give points to Ilia for moving from 45 to 55, I assume that Islam's going to get work done against Jack Della Maddalena, and I've gotten into trouble with this before with Jed in terms of like using pound for pound and making assumptions on how those fights will go. But I ultimately do feel that Islam is still the number 1 pound for pound, and I need him to be unseated rather than just like Ilia doing something that is equivalent to what Islam has already done.
I think that's a fair position to me. I bumped him in our rankings. I did bump Topuria over Islam, but I put Pants over both of them.
Wow.
I think we should just, and I don't have any issues with people being like, that's insane. Like I get it. It's definitely a hipster take. I don't know, man. I've put I think pound for pound should be more fluid because there was a graphic going around last week of Ilia taking the UFC's top pound for pound spot. He's the 10th male fighter to ever do that. Noticeably absent on that graphic is George St. Pierre, a fighter that I think almost everybody would agree is one of the 5 best fighters to ever live. And he never held that because his prime years ran concurrent with Anderson Silva. That seems silly because, like, I know Anderson's great, but also we kind of all think GSP's career is better than Anderson's. And so, like, why couldn't they have just swapped it out when each guy won a fight? Like, now he's taking it back. I think that is a better way to do this. And mostly I think Pantoja is just criminally underrated. People are finally coming around. He has 11 wins over guys currently ranked in the top of his weight class. That's the most by a mile. He's getting better. He is the longest, reigning male champion in the sport currently because Islam vacated. I wanted to give him his flowers because he never will. People just inherently hate flyweights. And so he's kind of capped in that, but he's the second best dude of all time in his weight class. And when the best dude's Demetrius Johnson, that's fucking incredible to just be like the no doubt about it second best guy. And so I put him number one, and I feel great about it, frankly.
This is a pro pants house right here. So I support you.
Did you guys see what Demetrius Johnson said to me when I asked him about Pants moving up and fighting Merab? He wasn't very impressed. Does he move up? Does he fight like a Merab? Does he try for a second belt? What do you think? Like, would you want to see that?
Fuck that. Stay at your division, make as much money as possible, and get the fuck out.
There you go. Well,
that's right. And that's what Pants said. And Pants said it. Pants was like, dude, I don't care. I don't need to go fight Merab. Ironically, literally maybe the only current male champion who I would like to see move up. Like, I didn't want Islam to go up. I get why he's doing it. It would be way cooler if he was fighting Ilia Topuria for the lightweight belt. But like, Pants is the one dude who has cleared the division. He's beaten 7 ranked dudes. Now Josh Van is the next generation. He's doing that shit. He's doing the shit that I always preach is like the most important stuff. He is beating generations of fighters. And like, but he was like, no, dude, I want to defend my belt as much as I can. Hell yeah. That's the energy I want fighters to bring into the sport.
Do you think he'd be successful though? That's part of my.
I think him versus Merab would be really fun.
I think it'd be fun. I don't think he'll beat Merab, and this is somebody who respects him as much as you do. Maybe not because you have him number 1 pound for pound, but a lot. I've been trying to beat that Pants drum for a long time, but I just don't think he'll have success at 35. It feels like he's built for 25 to just kind of dominate there.
I think he'd have plenty of success. I don't know that he'd beat Merab because Merab is Merab, man. Like, nobody's beating Merab currently. I think he'd give Merab as tough a go as everybody, maybe not named Umar. And Merab didn't like have a super tough time against Umar, but that fight was competitive and close. But like, I mean, I know Figgy's got the win over Pants. I think if they ran that back, Pants is putting Figgy in the dirt. And Figgy's had a lot of success at bantamweight. Like I just in general think if you're one of the top 5 guys at a weight class, if you move up, you'll probably be fairly successful at that next weight up, because we've seen it over and over again. You know, like it just has happened so much. When you're elite, those skills translate up, even if you're giving up a few pounds.
Andrew Nat says, great show, boys. Old man Dave signing up. Shout out to him. Just quickly, Jed, who's your number 2 pound for pound?
That was Topuria was my number 2. I did bump him over Islam.
The truth comes out, Rick. The truth comes out eventually.
He admitted.
No,
he admitted.
I did. I came right out and said it. This is a great run, and he should be rewarded for it, right? Like Islam, and this is not Islam's fault. His career has just broken this way, but his career is: I beat Volkanovski twice, who's a featherweight, and I beat Renato Moicano on short notice, and I beat Dustin Poirier, who's a legend and we all respect, and is still probably one of the 10 best lightweights in the world, but it's Dustin Poirier at that point. Like, that's, if I'm here to tell you that Charles Oliveira is not at his peak, I can also tell you that Dustin Poirier, when Islam fought him, was not the best Dustin Poirier, even though he looked incredible, frankly.
But Islam has a win over a better Charles. We have to acknowledge that.
No, that he does. He absolutely has. And I honestly, Islam tweeted it, which means Ali tweeted it. And I was like, he made a really good point of like, yeah, you beat Volkanovski and Charles. I beat them when they were on like 12 fight winning streaks or whatever. And that's like a legitimately really good point. But, you know, he's not fighting for a while. Like, if he beats Jack, he's taking the number 1 spot, except for, I don't know if you guys know this, there's a little man named Dricus du Plessis, and when he beats Hamzat, boy, I'm putting that man up top. Dricus going up top.
The very top?
By the way,
that's right, all the way to the top.
If we want to talk about incredible runs, we were talking about some runs earlier. That boy DDP's on one hell of a UFC run right now.
Underrated, man.
It's so good. I have been preaching the gospel of Dricus du Plessis as long as anyone, and he is going to beat Hamzat, and I'm going to have myself a day.
Before we get to our Brad Pitt top 3, a buddy of mine in New Zealand by the name of Dan Hooker is throwing a little fight event. I want to get your thoughts. Fellas, as I show you a little bit of footage, this went down in a bike shop in New Zealand over the weekend. Have a look at this. Ladies throwing down for this one, $50K on the line. I believe Doc Social is this is the guy that puts on the fights and pays for it. So shout out to him. Have a look at this one. Look at this one. Have a look at this.
I didn't realize they did another one. Ooh.
Isn't that nasty? Look at this. One more time. Full videos coming out to the Mac Life. Oscar's down there shooting it.
Flip.
But kind of cool to see the ladies get their crack at it. a lot of people don't realize a lot of the people in these fight shows are the ones that kind of don't get an opportunity to fight on the big stage for various reasons, weight classes, where it may be. But hey, man, this guy's kind of doing great as a promoter, right? Like, I feel like these things are hot right now.
Yeah, we had Dan in studio during our run of Vegas shows,
That's
and
right.
he was looking for women there that were ready to scrap. He was gonna fly some of them out to just. We're in the elevator. There's a woman who's talking. Can you scrap? Can you come? I like what he's doing with this stuff. It's just fun, and it doesn't feel like. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it needs any. What would drive this to be unpalatable for me is if it just became too serious. Like if all of a sudden we started making it like referees and medicals and this type of stuff. Like it's just let it be the backyard scraps that we remember from the Kimbo Slice childhood days and the Jorge Masvidal and this and that. And keep it in that bubble forever. And I'm good with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, for people who don't realize, like, the medical stuff's fully looked after. You have one of the best umpires in New Zealand there, making sure the fights are safe. And I think they got the 3 count as well, making sure that the girls are ready to go. But Jed, before we go to our Brad Pitt top 3, Dan told me, much like he told Ariel Rick on the show, that he was a bit over the UFC. Like for him, the UFC was lame. The fights were lame. He used to watch every single card. Now just where MMA is just lame and uncool, and he's not really interested in it. Got me kind of thinking, though, like, is Dan an example of a lot of these fans who kind of feel the same way and kind of walked away from the sport over these last few years, where that kind of coolness factor has kind of, for some reason, disappeared from them about the UFC? I guess too many cards, not enough fights that matter, too much shit going on that is a bit lame to them.
Yeah. Look, the UFC was, I'm old enough in this game to when the UFC was cool, or at least you felt cool because it was this transgressive thing, right? Like it was on the internet and it was human cockfighting, and the halls of government in America were demonizing this as the worst thing. And so it was like, all right, here's this cool. And then it became cool because it was the next big thing. It was fun. It was edgy. It was exciting. And now it is the political mainstream, not just the mainstream. Like they're talking about doing fights on the White House lawn. I never in my whole life has any president of the United States done been cool, because he's the president. It is an inherently not cool
JFK?
thing.
Barack Obama was cool, bro.
That wasn't my life. No, Barack Obama was cool in the context of presidents. He's still not cool because he's a politician, and politicians aren't cool. Government isn't cool. It's necessary and like important, but it's not fucking exciting. And now it's this. And so there are the people who have embraced that whole culture as their identity, and they will love it forever. But I just don't think anyone thinks any of that's cool. And when that fact couples in with like, a lot of fights are bad now. A lot of them are bad because the sport is a monopoly. They're not all bad. 317 was a hitter. That was a ripping card. I'm excited for parts of 318 and 319. And so like there will always be bright spots, but yeah, Dan's absolutely sort of on point here.
Can I just show you guys this quickly? Sorry, Rick, to cut you off, but this was the Prime Minister of Australia. His name was Tony Abbott. I wasn't a big fan of him. This is a video of him eating a raw onion with the skin on. So when you talk about people who are cool,
unbelievably cool.
This is the man that ran the country for a while.
Why is he eating the onion?
Because that's a great example.
It was like agriculture?
Because he's really cool, Rick. He's really cool.
He knows the difference between an onion and an apple, Rick. That's the problem. This is the guy who ran the country here for a while. That's
somebody tricked him. I thought he was like sampling like a farmer's agriculture to be like, I'm pro industry, I'm pro farmers. No. That's actually quite funny. This Dan Hooker thing to me smells of like Nate Diaz, and I think of Dan Hooker as maybe like the long lost New Zealand born Diaz brother. It just feels more like when Nate's calling everybody a dork and nobody wants to fight each other and there's politics wrapped up in it and Jon Jones doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. That's the shit that does make this like not cool. right? Like when it used to be just dude getting in the ring and scrapping, or in the cage and scrapping, or in the backyard and scrapping, like Dan Hooker is now setting up himself. There's a cooler aspect to it, but there's still cool shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm with Jed that the product has been severely like diminished and watered down. But like every once in a while, you get Ilia Topuria icing Charles Oliveira, and it's just like, yeah, this shit can still be cool. There's still cool shit happening, but as a whole, it does feel like we're like the fight element, the spirit of what it was has gone away in a way. And the Diaz brothers have always kind of said that, right? And I feel like Dan is kind of like in that vein. He just wants to scrap. He just wants to fight people.
I think, yeah, it's like one of those things where we used to watch it before it became mainstream. It was like, dude, do you have the latest tape? This is so cool. And now
Yeah,
it's like,
you have to actually trade VHSs. There was a time.
yeah, it was like a cool time to be alive. All right, guys, we're about to jump into our big top 3, but before we do, just a shout out to Manscape and the Lawnmower Ultra 5.0, and check this out. That's right, that is the White Hot Special Edition colorway from Manscaped, now available across the UK, Europe, and Australia. Same trimmer trusted by millions of men's balls, but now with clean white and gold finish that looks just as smooth as Jed leaving the bar on a Sunday morning after getting there on a Friday night. That's right, it's not just a pretty face. The Lawnmower 5.0 is built to handle your most sensitive areas with care, helping reduce the risk of nicks, cuts, and irritation, just like New York Rick when he talks about Islam being his pound-for-pound #1. It matters where it matters most. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code word submission, 15% off your entire order. White Hot looks, smooth results. The White Hot 5.0 Ultra brings the heat, just like Ilia Topuria in that octagon, without cooking your skin. It's sleek, it's easy, it's the way less terrifying than what you were using before. 15% off with the code word submission. Look at this bad boy. Get it today. And you know who else gets it? That is Brad Pitt for our Brad Pitt top 3. Just a couple of things before we get to it. I messaged the boys and I said, look, get 7. 7's in. We love 7. We all know 7's going to be in here. I don't want to spend a whole day talking about 7 in our top 3. It's a great movie. What's in the box? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to automatically add that into your top 3s. I'm going to guess that that's probably one of your favorite movies from Brad Pitt. Let's get it out of there. Let's get into the real top 3. We're all going to go through our top 3. I also have one of the worst movies that Brad Pitt ever made. I wonder if you guys have ever seen it, from 1992. One of the craziest things I've ever heard of. I had to research this yesterday. And this is coming off the back of the F1 movie that Brad Pitt is in, which is kind of like Top Gun and racing cars without the story. By the way, have you guys watched F1 yet?
Sure
I have not. Oh,
Jed,
review?
Jed, don't you feel like there was like not enough story? Like it was just like, where's the story?
No. The film was perfect. It's so stupid. It's one of the dumbest movies you'll ever see, and it was awesome. It was Top Gun Maverick. It was just Top Gun Maverick and race cars.
But even stupider. Don't tell me
Top Gun Maverick was stupid as shit, dude.
You tell
Fun
me the
as
end
hell.
of this F1 movie wasn't stupid?
It was equally as stupid as Top Gun Maverick, which was also incredibly dumb. This is not a complaint. This is not a critique. They are both stupid and awesome. Like this, and it's the same filmmaker. It's the same movie. You just swapped Tom Cruise for Brad Pitt, and you swapped race cars for jet engines. Like it was so dumb and incredibly fun. I had a great time.
In a few weeks, once it's out, everyone's seen it. We'll talk again about why it's so dumb. But before we do that,
I'm excited to see it. I took my kids to Jurassic World instead, and that was.
I'm seeing that tomorrow. I can't wait
for
how stupid that's going to be.
More of the same kind of
thing.
Look,
it's going to be bad because all the movies are bad.
It's better than the other ones. That's all I'll say. It's better than the last set of world movies.
There we go. Yeah. That's a win.
Chris Pratt, just quickly, a side note, Chris Pratt, I expected so much from him in these movies, and then he played the most boring, like, no personality crap version of the role in those movies, and I was expecting more of a Parks and Rec Guardians of the Galaxy kind of fun Chris Pratt, not this like weird
the scripts on all these are the scripts on all these are dog shit. They're the worst dog shit scripts you could ever write. They're all horrible.
Oh my God, someone is already onto me in the comment sections. Guys, let's get started with our number 3. New York Rick, I want to go to you first. Make your case. What is the number 3 best Brad Pitt movie of all time?
Nobody is allowed to judge me. I'm picking these based on what they did for me and the feelings that I got, and that's how I'm picking. Number 3 for me is Inglourious Bastards. I really enjoyed Brad Pitt in that movie. More of an ensemble movie, and I typically do think of Christoph Waltz more when I think of like that movie. That's the name, the actor and the name that comes to mind for me the most. But he was incredible in that role, an incredible movie. Really enjoyed Brad Pitt in that one. True to the core movie experience for me. Really enjoyed Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards.
And I feel like no one really talks about Inglourious Bastards, but it's actually like a good
It's the
movie
best
through and through.
It's the best Tarantino movie.
It's a banger.
The story is there. It kind of keeps you on the hook the whole time, and all the boys deliver in that one. That's a great pick.
That's my number one.
What?
It's my number
You
one.
already jumped into it. What are you doing?
Well, he talked about it, so might as well just do.
Hold on. Give me a number three. Give me a number three. We'll get to number ones in a second. God.
The number three is Ocean's 11. It is, and here's the thing: like when Rick was talking about Inglourious Bastards, like this isn't a Brad Pitt movie, because the famous line about Brad Pitt is he is a character actor in a leading man's body. All of his best films are him in an ensemble. He works best when he is a contributing part to a whole. He can carry a movie. He does pretty well in F1, like in, other films that may or may not be on y'all's list for various things. But like he's at his best when he is not the primary driver of the story. And he is sensational in Ocean's 11. It's one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. He's great in all of them. All three of the Ocean's movies I've watched a dozen times. But Ocean's 11 is, the first, and I think it's the best one. I know people stand for two over it, but 12. He's great in it. It's great.
Oh, really?
People love
12. 12 over 11.
No, those
people love 12.
Oh, wow.
Sunlight.
I'm 11. I'm 11 all the way. I'm 11.
I mean,
all the way.
I am 11 as well, but people 12 is great. I love 12. I love 12, and 13 has its charms,
People saying 13 is great. It was interesting. Brad Pitt was on the Dax Shepard podcast just last week, said he felt like they ruined the Ocean's movies after 11. They wanted to give everyone a monologue, everyone a moment, and it kind of took away from eventually where it went. I think at 12, they tried to switch it up. 13, it was like the Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler fight at the White House, right? It was like, let's just give these guys what they want. Didn't have the story, but you had Al Pacino.
Which is the one where Julia Roberts plays Julia Roberts?
That's 12.
12 with Bruce
12,
Willis.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis with a good performance. But Bruce Willis with a good performance.
Oh, shut up, Bruce Willis. I mean, legend.
And the line that I've said in my mind to Jed before, where he goes, when I pick someone else to do the show, and he goes, does he make you laugh? And I go, well, Jed, he sure as hell doesn't make me cry.
Great. See, great line, great movie.
Little line from there. Ocean's 11, number 3 for me as well, Rick. By the way,
nice.
You know what I love about it? The dynamic between him and Brad Pitt. You got to give it like young Matt Damon, just going 100, pitching like 3-point, maybe like 4 or 5 3-pointers.
Him and George Clooney? Who you said him and Brad Pitt?
Him and George Clooney. I mean, Brad Pitt and George Clooney, but Matt Damon in there. A Casey Affleck, a young Casey Affleck. Great cast there, Bernie Mac. Let's get to number 2 here. I want to know from you, New York Rick, what is your number 2 best movie of Brad
I was
Pitt?
going back and forth on a few.
Was it difficult? Number 2 is always hard. Number 2
was hard because I felt like it's either something that's going to be off my board. Like I felt good about 3 with Inglourious Bastards, and then 2 was either going to be this or something that was completely off my board as like the honorable mention number 4. But I did ultimately go with Fight Club. I think it's a tremendous movie. He's fantastic in it. When I think of that movie, I do think of Brad Pitt over Ed Norton. Obviously there's much has been made about the cult of personality that the Tyler Durden character has become in pop culture. But just as a character in the movie, reading no further than that, right? That not expanding beyond the walls of the film itself. He was just electric. He was just unmistakable. Every moment that he was on that screen, he was absolutely chewing it up, and I couldn't look away. Loved him. Loved the film. Fight Club, Brad Pitt.
Crazy thing about that one is at the Venice Film Festival, when it debuted, the movie was actually booed out at the building, and I think there was a story about Brad Pitt and Edward Norton sitting there both staring at each other like, crap, what have we done? Unbelievable movie. I feel like for this UFC crowd as well, Fight Club, right? Beautiful sort of. Meatloaf was in it. Meatloaf was
great.
Great cast. Jed, what's your number 2?
Snatch. Is Brad Pitt good in it? I don't know. He's great
He's
in
great
it.
in it.
Well,
He's
he
great
might
in
be. It's super weird.
Is he overrated in it though?
Here we go.
I don't know that he's. I think he's properly rated because many people think it's an.
Why is he
off-putting, strange-
overrated, Rick? Tell us.
Well, no, I say it. By the way, this was the other one in contention. It's my number 4. It would have been my number 2 if I chose that over Fight Club. But I do feel like he gets a lot of notoriety for that role when in actuality, like it's a pretty minor role. Like he's great. Like he does the accent. You like Dags. Like we do the whole thing. It's tremendous, but it's not like a huge part of the film.
Look, Hannibal Lecter was on screen for
that's
7
fair.
minutes or
It's
whatever
fair.
thing. That's like he is integral to the film. I think like you could convince me that his performance is bad, that he's hamming it up too much, but it's also perfect, so it doesn't matter. And it's Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock is great, but Snatch is Guy Ritchie's best film. It's probably the film I've seen the most of all of these, like of all of the Brad Pitt canon. It's charming and delightful. I quote it constantly. I love this movie so very much. It was like I could have gone a list that was like 20 deep for Pitt, but my top like 4 or 5 were all pretty easy choices, and this was very easy to put up high.
You know what I love about it? Transformative, right? Like Brad Pitt, so un-Brad Pitt-like in that movie. I'm going to be talking about it in a second, but for now, I want to give you guys my second pick, and that is Moneyball. One of my favorite sports movies of all time. Written by Aaron Sorkin, of course, the man that's written a number of really amazing movies, like A Few Good Men. Incredible, so rewatchable. Of course, Jonah Hill's great in it, but just the fact that Brad Pitt is able to kind of play that version of himself, got the daughter dynamic. He's trying to make this team work. I often see myself as Brad Pitt trying to figure out how to do submission radio the next week.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I'm like, you got Ariel Helwani up here. You got
I
MMA
frequently see
Fighting
myself
here. You
as
got
Brad
100,
Pitt as well.
You got 100 feet of crap, and then you got submission radio. I'm just trying to get runs on the board, Rick. I'm just trying to get runs on the board. One of my favorite movies out there. That's my number 2. Well, any problems with that, Jed?
It's on the list of films. Like Moneyball is great. It is. I do think it's one of the best sports movies of all time, but it is one that I've revisited less and less as like time has moved away. I watched it like a lot that first few years after it came out, and then it's just sort of, if it's on, great. It's very rewatchable, but it's not Snatch or Ocean's 11 for me.
Not Ocean's 11. This guy's out of control. What about you, Rick? Let's get to your number 1. This is the hard one. Was this the hardest? Number 2 was the hardest for you.
Number 2 was the hardest because it was that Snatch Fight Club kind of swap. For me, number 1 was quite easy. It's Moneyball. I think it's the best of Pitt. I think it's the best of Pitt. As Jed alluded to, Pitt's often better in that ensemble cast or even just like the number 2 lead of the film. This was Brad Pitt at his best as a number 1, completely becoming the character, carried the movie all the way through. Certainly had some support. I mean, Jonah Hill was tremendous in the film, but for me, it was
great.
One
Chris
of
Pratt, great Chris Pratt in it, like a young Chris Pratt before he blows up. Really,
there's a lot of great performances in that film. One of the best sports movies ever.
Oh,
but
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, no, it's one of those that you go back to and don't remember all the guys that were in it. But for me, it was Pitt at his apex. Like he was throwing 100 miles per hour in that one. Loved it. Loved the film. For me, Moneyball, number 1.
No complaints. Great choice.
Jed's not excited. He's just you don't look excited by our
I literally just talked about it. What am I going to say?
But I don't see excitement. I don't see excitement in your face.
Why? It's not my number 1. I'm not excited about.
Let's go back. Let's go back to your number 1. Explain your thought process when you chose your number 1 that you saw at the start.
I think Inglourious Basterds is Tarantino's best film. I know a lot of people think it's Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is his most important film. Inglourious Basterds is his best film. Pitt is it's the same thing as Snatch. Is Lieutenant Aldo Raine overacting in like a way that could be bad? Yeah. Does it matter? No. Pitt's charisma just sort of carries it all through. He is fucking hysterical in that goddamn movie, which is like super necessary in a movie that is about Nazis. So like to have somebody bring that sort of levity. And the movie, like that movie, I am convinced that people at the end of Tarantino's career will be like, yep, that's the best one because it is. Like, I really liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think Pitt gives probably a better performance in that than he does in Bastards, but it is not half the movie the Bastards is.
And
Bastards
Django
is
though? What about
perfect.
Django?
Well, Pitt's. Oh, are we talking Tarantino now?
Yeah.
The first 2 acts of Django are the best that Tarantino's ever done. The third act he gets too Tarantino-y, for my taste, but it's still a very, very good film.
Hey man, I'm not gonna fight it. A few names, and by the way, I've never seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know I haven't seen it. I'm gonna see it.
It's
Please
worth a
don't beat me up.
watch. It's worth a watch.
Please don't beat me up in the comments. But some notable movies that we
It's good.
haven't mentioned. Man, Brad Pitt, he's across a lot of movies. Like, I want to go through a couple of movies with you.
Wait,
guys.
are you not doing your number one before we do this?
Oh,
like,
sorry,
honorable
my
mention?
number one. My number one. I want to list these movies, and then I'll give you guys my number one, and you guys could break me down over this. But some movies that we didn't really even mention. Devil's Own, a great little movie with him and Harrison Ford. Probably not a great movie, but something that's a little bit fun. True Romance, small role, obviously. He plays the stoner in that, but that's a lot of fun. What about Meet Joe Black, where he plays Death with Anthony Hopkins and goes into a hospital and puts on a Rastafarian accent?
Buddy, I thought we had a list of bad things because that one's on it.
What about okay. But let me just quickly, Assassination of Jesse James, great movie that we didn't mention.
That's a good
World
one.
War Z,
Really good.
great movie that we didn't mention. Sleepers, great movie that we didn't mention. So there's a bunch of great movies in there. Someone said The Big Short, which he plays a
He's
small
great
role
in
in
it.
that I completely forgot about. And but
No,
after reading,
he's pretty central to it. He's fantastic in it.
Spy Game. He's in a lot of
Spy
really
Game's
good
terrible.
movies.
What are you on about? All right, so my
Spy
number
Game
one
is
movie.
good.
You don't
You're
tell us.
out of your fucking mind.
You don't get to tell us. You don't get to tell us that my movie, Snatch, which is number one, isn't number one, and tell me that Spy Game is good.
I told you Snatch is number 2 and Spy Game is good. You're out of your mind if you think it's
Robert
not good.
Redford in that one, old school movie for those that miss it. But yeah, just quickly for me, Snatch. I know, Rick, you didn't love it, but for me, dude, that was the thing that we quoted. That was how I got to know Brad Pitt. You know, the fight game. I loved all the quotes from it. That's my favorite.
Fight your part.
Yeah.
To be clear,
2 minutes focus.
I love Snatch. I actually disagree with Jed. I've got Lock, Stock ahead of it just because it was first and it was basically the same movie. I've got Lock, Stock
back and forth
ahead.
on them.
But
Yeah.
I love Snatch. I just don't think Brad Pitt's role in that film is commensurate with the praise that he gets for it. There are better Pitt performances, and there are movies where he does heavier lifting. That's all it is. It's the Pitt specific.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to get a little bit of heat. Didn't like Troy. Like my friends all like Troy. I didn't like Troy. I know a lot of people in the comments like Troy. You guys, Troy guys?
Are we
You
doing
asked
our
me to
bad
pick-
list or not? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
all right,
understand.
let's do the bad-
You're being a bad host by talking all the movies.
Well, I don't know if it's
when
good
we
or
haven't
bad. I
finished
don't know
our
if it's-
list.
Well, he's the guy that you don't know whether his movies are good or bad, right? That's the thing with Pitt. God damn it, he's too damn good looking. He eats and acts, and that's what he does. He eats and acts, and he looks captivating doing it. Let's get into our worst movies. I'll go with you first, Jed. What do you want to mention to us? What stands out as his worst movies of all time?
The thing that stood out when I had to do this is really hard because there are no bad Brad Pitt movies.
That's
There
what
are
I'm trying
bad
to
Brad
say.
Pitt. There are bad Brad Pitt performances. There may be bad Brad Pitt movies. I have not seen them. Of all the movies I've seen, I at least kind of like it. Troy is not a good film. I enjoy it. He's bad in it, and it's not
There he is.
good,
Look at him.
but it's really fun. And Meet Joe Black is like a solid film. We can't do that. That's just nope. He doesn't get to do that scene that we've all seen. It's really bad. And so like those are the two that stand out. Benjamin Button is like clever, but was
I
just
can't
not
watch that.
it wasn't
Think
a
about
really
my life.
enjoyable movie, but
Yeah.
it's like a well-made movie. But like that was the thing. Of all, as I was going through the list of his filmography, it's like everything I've seen is I like it.
There's some early 90s stuff that's real low on the tomato meter, but it's not stuff that I've like consumed or regularly came across. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Troy was my selection. You asked me to pick a bad one. That was a steaming pile of shit, and he was horrible in it.
Man,
Hard pass on
but
Troy.
it's fun. He's
didn't
bad.
find
It's
it.
bad. It's
I didn't
fun.
find it fun. I watched it in the cinemas. I didn't find it. Had Eric
I
Bana,
paid-
who lives around the corner down here in Melbourne.
Also, just unbelievable abs in that film. Just outrageous abs in that
Okay.
film.
Ridiculous shape. that he was in. Actually, everybody, but him in particular, the abs were on point. There's some fun set pieces in that movie, but God, that thing was horrible. I like you,
Just
Dennis.
poop.
I paid to go see that in a movie theater, and I was bored to tears and wanted to.
That was
off
a big
myself.
movie for its time. By the way, L&W with a few, Snatch, Fight Club, and Glorious Bastards, True Romance, A River Runs Through It.
Runs through it.
I didn't know that one. Apologize for Devil's Zone. Now I enjoyed it. Harrison Ford. And also All the Pretty Horses. I just like the name of that movie, All the Pretty Horses. But this is one that I found, guys, that no one really mentioned. And I didn't know about it until we did this. Have you guys, and feast your eyes on this poster for this movie, have you guys ever seen a movie, 1992 movie, Cool World? Look at this. Cool World. There's Brad Pitt there. For people that are wondering what this movie is all about, let me bring it down so New York Rick can react to this. A cartoonist who finds himself in a cartoon-like universe he believes he created, where he is seduced by one of the characters who wants to become human. So I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Just a couple of Rotten Tomatoes reviews on this from a few people we may know. It's a surprisingly incompetent film. Roger Ebert, hopeless. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is better than this film in every qualifiable sense, except it doesn't have a sex scene. So I'm like, a sex scene.
That's not even an insult, though. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is better than most films.
But that's what I was going to say. Is this not just Who Framed Roger Rabbit, except shitty?
No, because they drew it up. But have a look at this, guys. Brad Pitt is in love with this character who ends up having sex scenes with a number of people in this movie. Look at this.
Wait,
so it's a cartoonish movie where the cartoon lady thing has sex.
Was that Al
with
Pacino? Who was that? Who was that?
Who was this? Let's have a look.
Definitely wasn't Al Pacino.
Ooh-wah. Ooh-wah.
No, that's what's it? The Devil's Advocate?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, good times.
You got a great ass. Anyway, long story short, this cartoon character ends up having sex with a bunch of people. 4% really on Rotten Tomatoes, 1992.
Holy shit, this has a viable cast in this movie.
And guys, if you guys haven't seen that, you're looking for your next boys movie, you want to have a couple of blunts or a few beers, I feel like this is the one to do it. 1992, Cool World. That's got to be the worst one of them all. What do you think, fellas? Can we agree on that? That looks ridiculous.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but it doesn't look good.
I would never watch this shit. No chance.
I just love it's like, all right, Brad, you're in this movie, right? But we're going to draw up this really hot character for you that you're going to be making love to, okay? Like imagine you and like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but she's hot, and you're going to be making love to her all through the movie. And then someone's like, this is a great idea. Let's sign him onto this one. Cool. I mean,
to be fair, this was in 92, so we probably filmed it in like 90. That he was not famous then. Like he was taking work.
Kim Basinger is in that, and Old Man Dave says we're a bunch of haters. It's terrible fun, and apparently it made some money, 5.5 million at the box office. All right,
it was a bomb. It was a bomb. I'm looking at all of this now.
This
came out after Thelma and Louise, which is where he broke out. It's fine. He definitely filmed this when he was just trying to pay for dinner,
This feels like a prank where somebody was like, this really handsome dude, let's put him in a piece of shit and just ruin his career.
I just want to be the actor that's having sex with a cartoon character, and it's like, all right, take 5. Look at this tennis ball over here. All right, now pretend like you guys are making love.
I believe that,
Dennis,
buddy. I believe there's a whole genre of stuff for you if that's what you're looking for.
Hey, listen, man. All right. Sometimes we just like the, stuff that doesn't have to, shut down your internet because the wrong people accidentally figure out what you're watching. Hey, just quickly before we wrap up, he did a terrible movie with George Clooney called Wolves on Apple. I don't know if you guys
seen it.
That.
Is it that bad? I haven't seen it.
I wanted to see it, but it got such bad reviews that I was like, I can't do it to myself.
Same.
Shocker. So that's it. There's the Brad Pitt list. Throw your comments in the section below. Let us know what you think your favorite Brad Pitt movie is. But that is the show for today. I want to thank our friend New York Rick joining us from his backyard. You got a lot of heat for that bedroom last time, Rick. So you took it outside. I appreciate you, man.
It's a beautiful day. Might as well,
Beautiful day. And of course, Jed Meshew, thank you so much, my friend. What is happening, by the way, Uncrowned MMA Fighting? Anything coming up that you guys want to let us know about this week?
Dropping tomorrow on MMA Fighting. Season 3 of our fantasy draft league kicks off.
Hell yeah.
We drafted last week, so that should be coming up tomorrow as we head towards UFC Nashville and the heater of Derek Lewis and Taliesin Teixeira.
God.
We've got some incredible shows every single day. Helwani back Monday through Wednesday, myself and Connor Burks on Thursday, Friday PT Carroll. But the fun part about this week is our boy PT Carroll is in from Dublin all week. So you will see PT
cool.
Carroll here in New York City ahead of the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight, which we'll all
Oh, that
be at.
makes sense.
So there's a lot of fun stuff going on this week. PT is in New York City. So we're going to take him out. We're going to show him the town. He'll probably show us a few Irish pubs to get a good pint of Guinness at, and it'll be a grand old time.
Go to the Aussie pub. That's a good pub over there in New York. And Hamish and Andy
Doesn't really
own that
fit
one.
the Irish theme, but we can do that another time. Why don't you look? You come to town, and you and I will go.
Okay, fly us all out. We're all coming down. Me, all the boys. Hey,
Perfect.
guys, thanks for joining in. Join us if you want to be a subscriber. That helps the show. We'll see you guys later this week. A big thanks again, New York Rick, and of course, Jed Meshew. We'll catch you guys next time.